retail side of Alibaba. Huh? Huh? Where's my pen? Fuck. Every day of my life starts with, where are my glasses? Where the fuck is my pen? It's on my laptop. Okay. Before it all started, I got an offer from New York City, so I packed everything, rented a van, and pulled all of my things to a storage in New Jersey. I was also packing for these 2 luggages, which is why you're seeing such an epic packing scene here. First place I arrived at was Beijing. From that flight from New York, there was a stop in Toronto. The airport lounge I went to in Toronto, which was a really nice lounge. You can check on that video that I previously uploaded. One of the most important things I was going to do in Beijing was preparing for my trip. So I started shopping on Taobao, which is the retail side of Alibaba. So I started doing that before I even left from JFK. I bought stuff like camera cases and even like portable hard drive. What is this one? Toshiba. Okay, this is not a solid hard drive. So this might be the hard drive I received. And then I was like, let me erase it, right? Accidentally, I fucking erased the wrong one. I lost all the footages for the first 7 days. There are a couple of videos that I previously uploaded. It took me a couple of hours to put on this film. I went to a Beijing restaurant, had lamb spines and breakfast. I also went to my favorite lamb skewer restaurant with a friend I haven't seen in 15 years. We were using this automatic grilling machine. I went to this Instagram famous dessert bar. They do this Boba Milk Cake. I'm really sorry these turn out to be like a slideshow now. I promise later ones won't be like this. By the way, these spots in Soho, they're really expensive. Beijing be real expensive these days, including the hair salon. I got my hair done in New York in a Japanese salon, but it was not working. They did not charge me for it. I just had to redo it. I cut up all the part and bleached my hair 4 times. Still, like, it did not turn out to be purple as the way I wanted it to be because it was still like yellow. When it was done, it was already like 2 a.m. in the morning. I bought some clothes at a wholesale market in Beijing. I have an entire video about this experience. Since there isn't too much footage for this week and I'm pretty familiar with Beijing, so I decided to take 2 minutes on an informative speech. Every time I go to China, I'm like checking on WeChat account for like a list of the restaurants that are pretty popular. Probably, yeah, really call them like flies restaurant, and it means that they are dirty, and those are the places, you know, the real foodies trying to find. What they're saying is like it's really dirty, so that, you know, it means that it's really good. A lot of these were at Niu Jie, which is the cow street, which is Muslim district. The names of itself is because at the time a lot of like Muslim restaurants, so they had a lot of like beef. So there was a yard that sells pomegranate. Liu, it's kind of, I don't know how they linked it, but they were Liu, and Niu means cow. They were very similar. So they just decided they were gonna call it Niu Jie, which means the cow street. First mosque there were in China was established on this street, and it was established in 1998 during Song Dynasty, and then later on it got restored in the 15th century, and it got restored again in the 17th century. Around 15th century during Qing Dynasty, there was a book that was published, and it was about the hutong in Beijing. Hutong is like a very narrowed street, alleys. 1949, where the Chinese government, so like the Communist Party, was taking this area and preserving it as, you know, a part of the initiatives into like inclusion, and use that to represent like Muslim. So, and then later on, I think it was about like maybe 20 years ago or so, they restored the area because there was the street was very narrow, and then they were trying to turn Beijing from like a lot of Huton into like something a lot modern style. So that's what the Niu Jie is today. I met up with a friend at this restaurant that are famous for selling pork bun. This bun is called like nail bun because they look like the nails from the old Chinese gates. This is the common type of butcher shop that you see in China where you can tell them exactly which part to cut and see it clearly before you buy them. My friend here is educating me on the history of Niu Jie, which is kind of funny because she's not even from Beijing. She lived here for a bit because before the reform, it was a high crime area and the rent was relatively cheap. I had these sort of food before, but I never quite thought that they were, Muslim food. I thought they were just Beijing food. Nobody's gonna be like, this is the authentic Beijing food when you are in Beijing. Because my parents are not from Beijing, I was like, these food like I used to have in school because the schools provide like pretty good lunches. Try to find like Chinese food restaurants like in the US, and I realized like just nothing fits what my liking. Nowhere else in China they cook it that way.
是个什么啊？好吃吗？啊？啊？啊？酸的？不可能，怎么会？好吃吧？ 崩溃了，你知道吧？那你说现在小孩，你说是不是？还有你知道吗？他回来就在家，妈妈，快坐好，小手背后怎样，要跟他们在幼儿园一样的，他就开始，这是倒是还好，没有那些什么乱七八糟的什么东西，你知道吧？就安全性很高。在幼儿园也花了2万4。
金针菇就好，不要香菜，豆芽。
在麻辣烫里加豆芽。
剩下的都差不多了，我一般也就吃这些。
I noticed she was kind of down that night. Later, she told me it was because someone passed away during her shift. I never realized that working at a public hospital was such a challenging job. Maybe in the West, you see 30, 40 cases on a day, but in China, you need to take care of over 100 cases. It's just because there are that many people. So, I am finally starting on my actual editing of the actual vlog itself. It has been a while. Within the Chinese history of, Chinese recognize it as 5,000 years and the Western world recognize it at 4,000 years. But anyways, it's just within these periods, like the people on the top, like the rulers, sometimes they're of other race, which at that time it will create a conflict because the main ethnic group in China is Han, right? But Han is not just it's one ethnic group because a lot of people will blend in. There's no racial separation in China. So if you look at someone who speaks Cantonese, which means that they're from the southern side, it might look a little bit different from people from the north. You can say that's because the ethnic group is not the same. They're probably 客家族, right? But we're not gonna be like, okay, because you look different, I'm not gonna marry you. Probably it's gonna be from like your beauty standard of how rich you are and how good you look, Ethnic group in China is called Hui. And people in China don't think of them as like Muslim. They sound like somebody in the Middle East. We just say they're Hui. In the US, there was a guy who went to a pretty much Jewish school. Well, I don't really wanted to tell them that I'm Huimin. I'm like, why? He was like, well, because Huimin is like Muslim and they don't, you know, we have a conflict with the Jewish people and so on. And I was like, oh, okay, really? And that's probably the first time I realized that these people were like, it's like a religious thing. Diet is very significant, right? So that you have a class that goes with you till like you graduate from like elementary school, middle school, high school, and that class of you, let's say there are 50 of you, there are at least like 10 Muslim. Like that's how blended China is to its like different ethnic groups. Majority of students in Beijing are like local Beijing, because if you're not from Beijing, well, I mean, there's a lot of immigrants that come to Beijing because it's the capital city. If you're not from Beijing and you want to go there, then your child will have a difficult time getting to a school. We pick up our lunch, they pick up a different box of lunch. And we always think that those like kosher lunch are better than us. So that's how you know that these people are Muslim, but they look exactly the same as us. It's more like a, oh, that's interesting because they're of a different ethnicity group, but that's about it. So yeah, that's a lot of history lessons, and I did not know any of that. And I walk in there, you know, I did not know the existence of this. Like I probably heard about it, but I just thought, okay, there was a street name. But I did not think that it was related to ethnic or like religious.